you on the journey in which it is that you're going to take. Maybe it isn't the same exact path, right? But they've seen some things in which it is that you may see along your way. And how much of a benefit is that, to have someone by your side that has gone through those things? I look at this gentleman right here. Anyone ever used a shovel before? Shovel some dirt? Yeah. Is there a right and a wrong way to do it?
No.
Yeah, so I knew some would say no. Yep. But is there a more efficient way to use a shovel?
Yes.
I look at this individual right here that at a time in my life, we talk about potential, right? And we talk about unearthing that potential in which it is that we have inside of us. Big bro yesterday, he says that sometimes people saw something in him that he didn't see in himself. This is one of those individuals I want to say with me. He saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. But even though I was along the journey and I was trying to unearth that potential that I had inside of me, he was one of the brothers that I feel that stepped alongside of me and said, "Hey, Andre, I'm glad to see you're digging, but let me show you a more efficient and effective way of doing it. Hold your shovel like this. Take your foot, put some pressure in it, and you can dig deeper," right? We all should have someone along our side like that. This is what that individual was for me, and even many more things. But I'll let him go ahead and give you his story. Let's give him a round of applause for being here. Everybody pay attention. Adam, stay up, because if you don't, man, I'm going to be on your helmet. But you have done great this week. Go ahead, Big Mike. If you have a call, brother, just go ahead and step out. If you need my office, you can go ahead and use my office. The floor is yours, brother.
Cool, thank you, man. I appreciate that introduction. I don't have to say much about him because y'all already know Andre. But what I will say is I will tell you a little bit about how I met this guy real quick. I met him in 2015 when I had started an 8-year sentence in the Department of Corrections. And when I met him, he was running a Bible study and he was trying to do the best that he could to advance the kingdom of Christ. That was the best that he could do in the situation that he was given. And he was the epitome of somebody that I've seen had overcome adversity. Because I don't know how much you guys know about him and his story. Maybe I might be overshooting it. But that's a guy who's been committed to being the best version of himself that he can be every day. And it doesn't matter what the situation or what the obstacle. I've known people that have faced less adversity than him, and they wake up and it's just too much. And they can't deal with it. And he's an shining example of what happens when you persist. So I appreciate that.
Is that right?
Yes. Yes. I will tell you guys my story, but I'm going to just tell you ahead of time it's not that exciting, it's not that interesting, and it's not that remarkable. But I'm born and raised here in Phoenix, Arizona. I've been involved in this, right? Okay, go Suns. How about the Suns, huh? But I grew up in Maryville. And so I grew up in the 80s and in the 90s in a time when it was a little different than it is now. I've been involved in the system since I was 12. That's when I called my first case at 12. I went to jail for aggravated assault at 12. And then by the time I was 15, I was on my way to the penitentiary. I did a home invasion. They gave me a year. I didn't really learn much because I got out 3 months later. I stole a car. They gave me 9 months. I got out 3 months later. They was like, "Oh, you still haven't learned." So at 17, they charged me as an adult, and they shipped me off to prison. And they gave me 6.5 years as a 17-year-old kid. And in that time, the thing is, my problem is that I was a wannabe. I wanted to be a thug. I wanted to be a kingpin. I wanted to be all these different things. But in reality, and that's not to say that I'm some kind of sucker, but that's to say that I'm nothing like the generation before me. The guys that I grew up looking at and idolizing, these are like real men. And every generation that precedes the next is a lesser than, is a carbon copy, is not the same. And so during this 6.5 years as a kid, I did all of the things that you shouldn't do. I tried to get involved in prison gangs and I sold drugs. I had my girl bringing me drugs. I got involved in violence, like all of the stuff that you do when you go to prison. And as a result of that, 6.5 years, I ended up doing 6 years, 8 months. I don't know how you do the math on that, but I did more time. You're only supposed to do 85%.
How many little tickets did you get in there? Yeah. That answers the question.
I got all of the tickets you could get.
That's why you did 8 extra months.
You feel me? You feel me? Really, and it's 85%, so I did more than 8 extra months. And most of that I did in SMU, I did in Central Unit, I did in the Hall. I only say that to say just to kind of give you guys an idea of I'm nothing special. The highest grade that I completed is 8th grade. Okay, and the only reason why I completed 8th grade because I went to a charter school, an all-black charter school. And they told me, they said, you've missed so many days and you're failing every class. You're not going to walk, but we'll give you a chance. This is what you do. You get a poster board like that and you divide it into 4 quadrants. And you put what you should have learned in math, science, English, and social studies. And if you can do that, we'll graduate you. And I didn't even do that. And they still walked me because they didn't want me to be the only kid to not walk in my class of like 16 people. And it's no surprise that I didn't graduate high school because why? I wasn't prepared for high school. I didn't take the preceding years serious, so when you come into the next chapter of your life, you're not prepared for it. That's going to be a common theme and something that I'm going to talk about today, being prepared for the next chapter of your life. So anyway, so I get out of prison at 24 years old, and I'm trying to figure out what do I do next. So I spent the next year and a half back in the streets, back to selling drugs, back to robbing people, back to unsure about what I'm really going to do, just kind of playing around with my time. And I had an experience with an older guy that I looked up to. And I'll spare you guys the details, but essentially what happened was I looked at my life and I said, if I don't change at 24, this is going to be me at 38. Just walking out of prison after having did 12 years and not knowing what you want to do and not thinking of changing. He's coming to me, the younger homie, asking me, where's the dope? You didn't bring me no dope so I can get on? And I had to realize, I was like, this is going to be my life if I don't change. And that was the beginning. That was the catalyst. Now, what happened is that I had prepared myself in ways that didn't really take root for maybe a decade or two. And by preparing myself, is I developed a relationship with my Creator. I began to read. I studied. I set goals. I had plans and visions and all these different things for my life. But what happened is that I was living this double life. It's on the one hand, I want to do all of these nice and cool and great things. But on the other hand, I can't get rid of all of these vices that I have. My biggest issue has always been fast money, women, drugs, drinking, and smoking weed. If I could get those things out of the equation, I'll be okay as an individual or human being. But I could never quite figure that out. So I lived this double life where I'm trying to do good. I'm working a job. I'm paying my taxes. I think that's good enough, but it's not. And so after having been out 8 years, I got a DUI, and this is what happened. They said, all of the stuff that you did trying to be this wannabe thug and this wannabe gangster, we're going to put all of that together, and we're going to give you 8 years for a DUI. Mm-hmm. And eight years for a DUI in which I didn't kill anybody. I didn't hurt anybody. I didn't even hit the curb. It was the day after Christmas, and I, like most people out in the community, had a few drinks. I was out on Mill, and I happened to get pulled over. And that was the last time I saw the streets for almost 8 years. 6 years, 8 months is how much I served for that 8-year DUI.
And it probably wasn't even a straight DUI. It was a hangover DUI.
No, I was out. No, we was going up. We were going up. And I was about to go in. And but it was the greatest thing that could have happened to me at that time because they say that it's never too late. But in reality, we all know people that unfortunately it's too late for them. They're not going to get an opportunity or a second chance. They don't get a new lease on life. That's it. So in essence, there is a time in your life when it is too late. And so I'm blessed that this is the time. That was the time in my life when the Lord chose to stop me. And so when they finally convicted me, they gave me 8 years. My son had just turned 5. And that's when I met Andre. So you want to talk about living this double life. I knew when they sentenced me, the judge told me, he was like, listen, man, you've done some good things in your life. And you've changed, obviously, but that's not enough. And so I hope that you take this as an opportunity. You go do something great with your life. So this is what I do. I make the decision that I'm going to be different in my life. And I go into prison and tell them what I was doing. Dre, I went to prison and I started teaching Bible study classes and I got heavy into the word. And I was really doing the best that I could to really try to fix and repair these vacancies in my life. But at the same time, I had another choice. And the choice was I could be bitter and upset that as a single father who was not really breaking the law, I'm working, I'm paying taxes, I'm doing a decent job, I'm doing the best that I feel like I could. You're going to give me 8 years for all of this? So I held a lot of bitterness and resentment from my prosecutor. And so when you're in between these two worlds, how are you trying to be a better person, but you're holding on to resentment and bitterness? So you know what that looks like? I'm holding Bible studies and I'm teaching church service. And the Sunday morning and Sunday night, I'm drinking up all the hooch on the yard.
Yeah.
For a year and a half, that's how I live. This double life.
But then you have to see where you learn that from. I mean, in Catholic churches, you learn that pastor, the priest is okay to drink wine, and you think that after Sunday church, you're going to go ahead and enjoy the blood of Christ, which is not.
Nah, and this was what we was drinking was not the blood of Christ. This was the death of Satan. This was the death of Satan. You know, but what it is that, see, the thing is that when you live this double life, if you have these two bottles, and this is the better me and this is the lesser me. What's in between these two things is a lot of space. And when you have this space between the two aspects of one person, it's not like I'm two people, I'm only one person. All of this space, you're going to have to fill it with something. Because you have to go back and forth from the good guy to the bad guy. So what do you fill it with? Most of the time, we filling it with drugs and alcohol. I'm going to drink the pain away. When instead of saying, let me just bridge the gap. Let me stop being two people. Let me just be one. Let me just be whole. And it took me 1.5 years, almost 2 years, to get to that place in life to where I realized I can't keep being this dual personality. I can't live this double life. I either got to be all in or all out. The Bible says it best. The Bible says that it's better to be cold than lukewarm. You either going to be all the way hot or all the way cold. Don't be lukewarm. Don't be a fence straddler. Mm-hmm. And so once I got to that place in my life, that I was able to be singular and focused and say that this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be committed to being the best version of myself that I can be. That time, the rest of that time made the last 17 months of my life. I got out of prison October of 2021. I got off of parole last month. The last 17 months of my life have been great. It's been great. I can't complain. I've been in my son's life since the day I walked out of the penitentiary. And I've been working. I've got a couple of businesses. I'm in the process of trying to start a nonprofit. Some buddies of mine, we bought about 40 acres of land up north, 37.5 acres of land up north. Like, I'm doing very well for myself.
Praise God.
God is good.
Yep.
God, and he's the only reason why. He's the only reason why. So here's the thing is that now that I've said all of that I want to say about me, what that means to you guys is that I just come to kind of share some of the things that have helped me along this journey, in hopes that if you'll take heed to these things, it'll help you in the next portion of your journey. Because everybody in this room has a story. Everybody in this room has something that you've been through. It's very unique to you. I'm not here to talk about the gospel and to do a whole lot of preaching, but I will say is that each and every one of you and us, because I'm included in this conversation as well, was given and born with a unique gift. There's only one you. Nobody has seen what you've seen. Nobody has done what you've done. Nobody has been where you've been. So there's only one person that can do what God placed you here to do. The problem is that that's not really how we look at ourselves. That's not really what we think about. So I'm going to tell you, one of the most important things that you can do from this point forward is you have to learn how to control what goes on in your mind. Joyce Meyer has a book called The Battlefield of the Mind. That's exactly what it is. Yep. Now, I've always been under the impression that the average person thinks about 40 to 50,000 thoughts a day. I recently read that it's upwards of 70,000 thoughts a day. To put it into perspective, there's about 84,000 seconds in a day. So that means that almost every second, you're thinking a brand new thought. You want to know the worst part about that? Is that 85% or more of those thoughts are negative or self-deprecating in some fashion. And what I mean by self-deprecating is I can't, I shouldn't. Now I don't think I can do that. I ain't good enough. I'm not smart enough. I don't know how to do that. No, I can't change. Those are the things that we think every single day that inhibit us from being able to walk into that greatness, from being able to walk into that gift. And so that's the one thing that they don't actually teach us in school is they don't teach you how to control your thoughts. They don't teach you how to control what's going on between your brain. But that's what makes the biggest difference in your life is what you think every single day. Imagine this. If you could just control, say, 1,000 of those thoughts every single day. Just 1,000. I'm not saying that you got to control half of the 70,000 thoughts. I'm not saying you need to control 35,000 of your thoughts because in reality, you're not even aware of 90% of the thoughts that you think. So the only thing I'm saying is that when you have that thought, when you're now about to go and apply for that job, or you got the job and you've been in this role now for 6 months or a year, and you're thinking it's high time that I ask for a promotion or a raise. And you get that thought that says, nah, when you're ready for it, they'll come to you. Or you get that thought that says, they ain't going to give it to me anyway. Or you get that thought that says, I don't deserve it. That's the time that you need to change the thoughts that are going on in your mind to say, who better than me? If not now, then when is a better time to ask for this? I deserve a raise just as much as anybody else. I put in the work. I put in the time. I come here every single day. I do more than I'm supposed to. Why shouldn't I get that raise? That's my money. And you go in there and you ask for it. That's the starting process of changing the way that you think. See, if you go to my house, my son's 13. I'm trying to train him and condition him into controlling his thoughts as well. Because that's the preceding. Whatever you do in life, it always starts with a thought. The thought is like the seed. We drive around town and we see all of these trees, and we neglect the fact that once upon a time that tree wasn't there. It was just a little bitty seed. And that's what a thought is. And you think a thought today, and in 2 days, 3 days, 6 days, a week, a month, a year, 10 years from now, that one very singular thought will begin to take root. And do you want it to be a weed, or do you want it to bear fruit? And so all over my house, it looks just like this. We got quotes everywhere. And now mine isn't that nice, right? We don't have nice, elaborate painting and pictures. I'm just old school. I get Post-its. And I got Post-its all over my mirror. I got Post-its on the refrigerator. I have about 9 different calendars, and there's Post-its everywhere. And the same thing with my son. I had to tell him, son, you can't put Post-its everywhere because he's got a fish tank. And we can't see the fish tank no more because there's Post-its all over the fish tank. I'm like, bro, you know what I mean? Come on now. Use your mirror. But he's young. He's 13. He's in the mirror all the time. That's why he don't want to use his mirror. But it's because the thing is that I know I have to see these things every day. I have to be reminded every day. I have to constantly condition and program my mind every single day to think positive thoughts, to emit positive energy. Because again, if a thought is a seed, and I take a seed, and let's say I got my hand, I have an apple seed, and I go outside and I dig a hole about a foot, and I plant that seed, and I cover it up, and I water it, and I do all of the things that you're supposed to plant that seed. In about a year or two, what's going to grow?
Apple.
What kind? An apple tree. That's right. It ain't going to be oranges. It isn't going to be pears. It's not going to be bananas or pineapples, Japanicans. It's going to be a car, right? It's definitely not going to be a car. It's only going to be what you plant. So if you're planting negative, self-deprecating thoughts every single day about I can't, I shouldn't, I won't, I'm not good enough. If that's all you think every single day, what do you expect to get out of your life? What's going to grow from those thoughts? What you want from it. Exactly. So the thing to do is knowing that the only thing that you can ever really control is yourself. I'm not saying, again, that you can control all 40, 50, 60, 70,000 thoughts. That's impossible. Even monks, this is all they do every day. They take a vow of silence, and for 10 years they pray and they meditate. They still have negative and self-deprecating thoughts. It happens. But what they do is they spend the time and they invest the time in working to control their thoughts so that they can only, when they control it, emit positivity. If I can control it and I can plant something positive or something negative, I can plant weeds or I can plant apple trees. Which one should I plant? Probably plant the apple trees. Weeds are a whole lot more work, and they don't bear any fruit. So when I'm cognizant or when I'm aware of it, I try to put out positive thoughts. I try to remind myself that I am good enough. I try to remind myself that you should not go down. You should always stay up. You should remind yourself that I must always be impeccable with my word. If I say it, that means I mean it, and I got to do it. These are the things that I remind myself every single day. Every time I get my kid out of the car, we live 2 blocks away. I drive him to school every day. And every time I get him out of the car, I tell him, go be great. Go walk in your greatness. Just to remind him that you are great, that you are better than. You never have to take yourself down to other people's level. You just stay where you at, and people will naturally come up to your level. Controlling your thoughts, that's probably the most important thing that that anybody will ever teach you. And so how do you control your thoughts? It's what are you putting into your mind? If you start your day and the first thing you do is you turn on the news, I don't watch the news. And here's the reason why I don't watch the news. I don't have to watch the news to tell you what's on. Somebody got shot. Somebody got murdered. There was some embezzlement scheme. Some politician stole something. There's some law that people are all up in odds about. Like, I don't have to watch the news to know that things are going not so well. That's what the news and the media is going to make you think. So why would I want to fill myself with all that negativity? Because all that's going to do is wear heavy on me. Because now I'm thinking about who just got murdered and who got killed. And what am I going to talk about the first person that I see? Did you hear about who got murdered? Did you hear about what just got stolen? What just blew up? What war just got started? All I'm putting out is more negativity. So I start my day with something positive, a little bit of meditation, a little bit of positive affirmation. I read a book, and I start to try to find ways to put positive energy out there into the universe so that I get more of it in return.
So as you're saying that, I just want to put an example. So now when you were saying like when you plant an apple seed, you want to plant an apple seed, you're looking to get an apple tree out of it, an apple. And when I said that, when you was like you're not going to get a banana, you're not going to get a car, right? So in that retrospect, if they ever irrationalize you planting your apple seed and giving you anything different other than what you want, that means that if you use that same formula, right, then you can put in $1 and get $1 million, right?
Absolutely. So
why would they? That's what I'm saying. Like in this life, you know what I'm saying? If they would ever do that, wouldn't that what you would expect from them?
Absolutely. The problem is that, and I got a story I'll share. I'm gonna come back to that. I got a story that I'm gonna share real quick because at the end of the day, I just want to finish touching up on some of the different ways in which we can control our mind, right? So I am a firm believer that everybody in here driving? Okay. Does anybody have AirPods or earphones that they listen to when you doing your normal commute, whether you on the bus or the light rail or somebody's giving you a ride or you walking, you ride a bike? When I came home, I rode a bike because I ain't had the money for a car. And then they stole my bike. So I rode my son's bike. And then they stole his bike. So then I was back to walking. But what I did was, at that time and still now, during the commute, no matter where I'm going, I listen to motivational stuff. I listen to podcasts. I listen to seminars. I listen to books on tapes. I listen to anything that's going to help propel my mind forward. Because at the end of the day, Maya Angelou said it best. That which is not growing is dead. So if you're not growing intentionally, the problem with us as human beings is that in the beginning of our life, we grow naturally. We go from an embryo to a fetus, to an infant, to a toddler, to a young boy or girl, to a teenager, and then eventually we get to like 18, 19, 20, 21, and we stop growing physically, right? We don't grow up. Now we maybe grow out, we go a little wider, you know what I'm saying? Hair might get a little something, but we don't grow anymore. Growth stops happening. You only grow if you then become intentional about your growth. I'm a sports guy, so I use a lot of sports analogies. And people look at athletes. Right now we're watching the NBA playoffs. And we look at these athletes and we just assume that they wake up like this. And we neglect that these guys have probably put in upwards of like 40,000 hours over the course of their career. From like age 5 to where they are now. And the only reason why these guys are professionals is because they work at it every single day. They don't take it for granted. And that's how you have to be with your own life. You can't take it for granted. And you have to continuously be cognizant. You have to be the garrison at the doorstep of your mind. Meaning you have to always be watched with an AK-47 or an AR-15 or whatever your gun of choice is. You need to be at the doorstep of your mind saying, I'm not letting you in here. Because the thing is, I don't know if you guys can relate, but I have had and still have instances in my life where something will happen to me and I'll be thinking something negative about somebody. And I'll be thinking that for about 5 minutes, all of the nasty, disgusting, treacherous things that I could probably do to this person. And then when I'm snapped to, I'm like, damn, I just spent 5 minutes thinking about that. That's crazy. So when you have the opportunity, then you have to reverse the tide and you have to do the exact same thing with something positive. Put that stuff into your life and watch what happens. And that's a good segue into what is the second thing, which is, real quick, go ahead, brother.
So the thing is like when you just said like, you know, the elements of thought, right? So it'd be different, like it's like, so here's the comparison. One person comes into your life and steps on your shoes. You can forget that it ever happened. All you gotta do is clean your shoes off, get a bit of her shoes or whatever. Someone comes into your life and makes the most, and destroys it for the rest of your life, something that you'll never forget.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm not going to make an example of it because it's a little bit personal.
Sure.
You know, but you see the difference?
No, absolutely.
It's not like the negativity was only stepping on your shoes and all you had to do was just wipe your shoes off and get a pair of shoes. They came in and ruined it, everything.
Yeah. No, for sure. Here's how you have to look at it. The second thing is your self-worth. We're talking about shoes. We're not talking about human existence. So in the grand scheme of a human life versus some shoes, brother, you know what? I forgive you for that, because if you knew better, you wouldn't have stepped on my shoes, or you wouldn't have made a mess of my life. So I forgive you for that, because the value of my life and what I have going on is far supersedes anything that's going to come with what you're trying to bring into my life right now. I'm not making this a personal thing between me and you, but just giving you an example, right? I had to learn something. I got a good story. This is crazy, right? So I got out October of 2021. And in November, my mom took me on a job interview for the job that I still have. I sell fire equipment, those sprinklers and that smoke detector and suppression systems. I'm with the same job that I started with in December of last year. So anyway, my mom took me to this interview. I've been working here now for almost a year and a half, and she doesn't really know what I do. She don't really know what I do, and I do okay. I do okay. So last month, it was my 40th birthday month, and I got off parole, so I celebrated most of the month. And one of my vendors knew this, so they said, hey, we're having a convention for something completely unrelated for what you do, but we'd like to invite you, your family, friends, whoever you want to bring. So I thought, cool, let me bring my mom. I can introduce her to some of my vendors, some people that I work with, and she can kind of get an idea of what I do. This would be cool, right? So they had it. It's at this place in Fountain Hills called Rosa's Ranch or Rosarita Ranch or something like that. And they had barbecues, did the catering. They had tequila tasting. They had cigar rolling. It was dope. We had a good time. And out of the blue, the owner of the company, my vendor, which is called Zeckelman Industries, Barry Zeckelman, he got up on stage, right? I'd never met this guy, first time seeing him. And he talked for a few minutes, and then he got off stage, and everybody kind of went back to doing what they're doing. And then before I knew it, he walked up. And me and my mom and one of my other salesmen were chopping it up, and he starts talking to us, and I said, hey, man, listen, my name is DeLonne. I'm the sales rep. I'm actually tasked for the Z Modular project. You know, it's nice to finally meet you in person, yada, yada, yada. And he got all excited. And for like 45 minutes, he sat there and he chopped it up with us. And he talked to my mom for like 20 minutes straight. They had a full-blown conversation. I had to walk off. I come back with a cigar. They still talking. So anyways.
Who's going to own the company now?
Watch this. The thing is that I knew who this guy was. I never met him before, but I knew who he was. My mom didn't know. So what happened was the next day, let me Google him and let me send this picture to my mom so that she can kind of have an idea of who she was just talking to. This is who your son is hanging out with. Read that for me.
Ooh. Barry Silkeman or Silkeman, whatever, is worth $3.5 billion or something like that, billionaire? Real time's worth, and then,
he's the number 795th wealthiest person in the world.
And he lives here.
Yeah, he's from Canada. He lives in Arizona. He loves Arizona because he's from Canada, of course.
Isn't he like a major donator in some kind of like, I don't remember, but...
Low income homes.
Yeah, and then he also does some kind of thing with the golf things every year.
Yeah, he does. Yep, they have a big golf tournament every year.
Okay.
So the thing is, this is crazy. I had to put this into perspective because that night I took my mom to go have dinner with a billionaire. And so he's there, a billionaire. Imagine there's got to be another couple millionaires there, maybe another billionaire too. But it's a lot of money at this place. I say all that to say, how foolish do I look going back to the trap house? How foolish do I look going back to the corner, hanging out with the same guys on the same stuff, stepping on my shoes, talking about nothing? Brother, please, man, that's nothing. That's nothing. I would look real foolish going backwards. And the thing is that it just has to do with self-worth. Because if you had put me in that situation a year and a half ago, I'd have self-sabotaged it. I'd have walked in there and I'd have not said nothing to nobody. And he'd have walked up and I'd have walked away. Or I'd have got so drunk. that I'd have made a fool of myself. Because my self-worth wasn't where it needed to be. I got a better way to put this into perspective. I got a story I'm going to share. This is the first time I told a story, so I hope I don't butcher it. But follow me here.
You better not be lying, because I haven't heard you tell a lot of stories.
You ain't heard this one? Nah, you ain't heard this one. I promise you ain't heard this one.
Go see.
A husband and a wife, they just find out they're about to have a baby. So the husband, his father told him, he said, the greatest gift that you can ever give your child is preparation for adulthood. Now, he told him that when he was 18. He didn't really understand it. So now that he's about to have a child, he's trying to figure out what that means. So that the day his baby girl was born, it snapped. He realized, okay, I know what I got to do. So he went off. He did a little something cool. And when his daughter turned 18 and graduated high school, he said, "Congratulations, baby girl. I have a gift for you." She was all excited because she couldn't wait, because she knew her dad was going to do something special for her. So he gave her this box. Now, mind you, he bought this when she was a baby. So it's already 18 years old. It was a dusty box, but it was already an old box anyway. So she gets this box and she looks at it and she's like, and it's still dusty. And she's like, you know what, whatever. So she dusts it off. She opens it. And inside is a ring. And the ring is in worse shape than the box. The ring, she looks at it and she's like, "Dad, what is this?" He's like, "This is your graduation gift. Congratulations, baby girl." And she's like, "Dad, this ring is ugly. It's dirty. It's disgusting. It's so tarnished. I can't even tell what kind of metal it is. It looks like it's some kind of stone, but it's full of grit and grime. And it's just, what is this? Why would you give me this? I can't do nothing with this." He's like, "Baby girl, this is what I want you to do. Do you trust me?" She's like, "I trust you." I said, "Listen, I want you to call up all your friends, and I want you to invite them to lunch. And I want you to put this ring on, and I want you to wear this ring to lunch, and I want you to see what happens." She ain't really buying it, but this her dad, so she does it. So she calls her friends, they all go out to lunch, and the next day she shows up with this ring, and she says, "Look at what my dad got me for graduation." And they look at this ring, and they're like, "Ugh, what is that? That is the most hideous, disgusting, ugliest ring that I've ever seen. It is so dirty and filthy. It's tarnished. You can't even tell what type of metal it is. The stone is like full of grit and grime, and it's just, what is it? This is an abomination. You should be so ashamed of your dad. In fact, you should take it back to him, put it in a box, and say, "Give me what I could really use, which is a car." And she did that. She went back and she told her dad that. He wasn't fazed by it. He was like, and she had put the ring back in the box, by the way. She wasn't wearing it anymore. So he says, "Baby girl, listen, don't worry about it. This is what I want you to do. I want you to take the ring, and I want you to go to a pawn shop and see what they say." So that's what she does. The next day, she goes to a pawn shop, and she takes the ring, and she puts it on the counter, and she opens it, and the guy looks, and he's like, "Damn, that is the ugliest, dirtiest, most disgusting, filthiest, most tarnished ring I've ever seen. And not to mention the stone is so dirty and grimy and full of grit. This is crazy. Like, I don't know where you got this ring, but here's what I'll do. I'll give you $500. She's like, "Wait, what? You just talked bad about this ring, but now you're going to give me $500? Then give me this ring." So she left. And she went home, and she told her dad what happened. And he's like, "Isn't that interesting? So now here's what I want you to do. Take that same ring, and I want you to go to a jeweler." So the next day, she gets up, and she goes to a jeweler, and she puts it on the counter, and she opens the box, and they're like, "Damn. Oh. Yeah, that is the most ugliest, dirtiest, filthy, disgusting." You guys know how that goes, right?
Yeah.
But here's what I think, though, with a little bit of work, a little bit of TLC, you know, this might be worth something. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you $5,000 for it. And she's like, "You gonna give me $5,000 for this?" So she closed the box and she walks off. And she goes home and she tells her dad. And he's like, "Isn't that interesting?" And she's like, "But hold on a second, Dad. Why would they give me $5,000 for this ring and they don't even know what it looks like?" He's like, "Baby girl, listen, just relax. This is what I want you to do. I want you to take this ring. Tomorrow I want you to go to Sotheby's. Sotheby's is an auction house, a fine auction house, right? He says, I want you to go there tomorrow. I want you to take him this ring, see what happens." So that's what happens. So she goes there the next day. She goes to Sotheby's. She has an experience. She comes back home to see her dad after this experience. And when he sees her, he already knows what time it is because now she's got the ring on. But the ring doesn't look like it did when she left. So he's like, "Baby girl, what happened?" She's like, "Oh, my God, Dad, you won't believe what happened." She says, "I walked into Sotheby's, and the lady greeted me, and I showed her the ring, and she looked, and she was so amazed, she almost fainted. And she whisked me into this conference room, and she was tripping all over herself, making sure that I was straight. She wanted to know if I wanted water or coffee. And I was like, "I'll take water." She's like, "Do you want sparkling water? Do you want it with cucumber and lemon? Do you want it with lime? Do you want it with ice?" And I just couldn't believe, why was she so helpful and so accommodating? And then she started bringing in more people. And every person she brought in introduced themselves, and they never asked me about the ring. They only cared about me. They asked me who I was, how old was I, did I just graduate, what was I going to do in life? It was just crazy. And then finally, they had this guy. He was the head gemologist in there, or historian in there. And he comes and he looks at this ring and he says, "This is what I'd like you to do. I'd like to take this ring and I'd like to have our specialist go and buff it up and clean it up and shine it up and get this ring back to where it needs to be. And then I'm going to tell you all about this ring. But first, I got a couple of forms I want you to sign because, if something happens to this ring, it's on us. It's not on you. We're going to take good care of you and this ring. You're in good hands, but I just want you to know what's about to happen." So they leave. They get the ring back. They come back and they explain to her, this is what happened. This ring is over 1,000 years old. It belonged to a British monarch, and it actually got lost at sea. And it was at sea, underwater, for over 700 years until it was found. And the guy who found the shipwreck, he had it, and then he died, and his wife didn't know what to do with it, and it got passed on for generations until finally some dude bought it at a yard sale. Your dad.
Wow.
They said, here's the thing. We advise you not to sell this ring. Because you could put this ring on auction right now and it'd be worth $5 million. Easy. Wow. But imagine if someone will pay you $5 million today, what will they pay your daughter when she graduates high school? Mm-hmm. So here's what we'll do. We're going to go ahead and give you a letter of authenticity. She got a letter of authenticity. They said that we're going to go ahead and anytime you want it clean, you want to reappraise, anything you need from us, we'll take good care of you, no promise. If you decide that you do want to sell it or you do want to put it up on auction, we'll give you the supreme discount. She's like, Dad, they just took so good care of me. She's like, but what I can't understand is that why did my friends laugh at me and why was everybody else trying to get over? And he says, baby girl, listen, you're just like that ring.
Oh.
You can't get mad when you're around people that don't see your value because they don't know. What you have to do is you just have to put yourself around people that not only see your value, but are willing to invest to pull out of you that potential that's been sitting there the whole time and nobody ever saw it. So you guys are in a real unique position in this program because you have people like Andre and everybody else that's in this program that this is what they do for a living. I can tell you that the skill set that this guy has now, having been in corporate America for a year and a half, this dude could make bank. If I could make bank, he could make big bank. But he chooses to be here because this is his passion and this is his calling. Seeing the value in people that you may not necessarily see in yourself. Helping you to develop the self-worth that's going to be necessary to help you take your life to the next level. The biggest detriment that you can do to your life is to be a diamond around people that all they know is dirt. Because they'll never see your full potential. In fact, all they're going to want to do is just kick more dirt on you. Why would you do that? The biggest obstacle in this world, it seems to be, is to find like-minded people that are where you're trying to go. To find people that will believe in you, that will say, you know what, I see the value in you. And let me help you to develop that. And let me help pull that out of you. That's the hardest thing to do in this world, it seems like. But the easiest thing that you can do, until you find those people and you can get around them and they can begin to pour into you and then pull out of you, is stay the hell away from the people that don't believe in you. Stay away from the people that don't see the value in what you really are. Because again, I cannot stress this enough. This sounds cliche and it sounds biblical, but each and every one of us has our own special, unique gift. That's the only reason why you're here. Are the I am. Everything that God is, you are. And that's the part that when you find and figure that out, your life will never be the same. Because we all are so much untapped potential. A diamond truly is priceless. A diamond really is only as valuable as the person whose hands it's in. Because it's nothing more than a stone that doesn't serve any purpose. It has other applications. But when you're talking about jewelry, it only has a value that the person who pays for it will put on it. And you're no different. So why would you ever succumb to anything other than greatness or other than exceptionalism? Why? And the moment that you understand the true power of your potential, your life will never be the same. And so self-worth is something that it takes time. But you'll never be able to develop your self-worth as long as you're around people that don't see it. So if you got to stay home alone until you can be around a collective group of people that will build you up and lift you up, then so be it. And you be your own community of support. I told you what my apartment looks like. You know, I've had a Costco car for almost a year, and I've never been to Costco. It's just too much. It's still too much. I drive by it. I've driven by Costco at least a dozen times. I'll go pump my gas, and I'll drive by like I'm going to go in, and I'll keep on pushing because it's still too much for me. I spent the first month that I got out of prison at home. I didn't go out. I still don't go out to clubs and bars and things like that, but I didn't go out anywhere. I just stayed at home. It was me and my kid. And it wasn't until he told me, Dad, you don't got to walk me to school no more, that I started to kind of branch out and do other things. But I say all that to say that until I could develop a community of people that believed in me, that would build me up, that would support me, I was my own community of people. And I read the books, and I watched the videos, and I listened to the videos and the podcasts, and I put up the notes and all of these things to help me to remind myself that, man, you are better than what the system tried to tell you that you were. You guys have done something for yourselves that I don't think that you give yourself enough credit for. Because it's easy to say that I don't need any help, I'll figure it out, and to keep on trying to do things the way that you've done it. Asking for help is difficult, especially as an adult. If something happens in kids, like when they get like between 10 and 13, that they're like, all right, I no longer need to ask for help, we'll take over from here. And that's like the worst thing that you can do, because then all you're doing is developing the habit of trying to be self-sufficient. When we're human beings, we're supposed to be a community or a collective of people. We're supposed to be able to rely on and count on each other. And so what happens is that when you become clear about your intentions in life, and you become clear about who exactly it is you are, you don't have to continue to strive to find yourself. You already are. I don't hate it, because I've been there before saying I'm trying to find myself. I'm still trying to figure out who I am. That was always the problem, of trying to figure out who I am. And instead of just being, I am. That's who I am. I'm not a fire protection rep, or I'm not a guy who has a used car dealership, or I'm not none of the things that people say that I am. I'm not a brother or father. I just am. I'm all these things, and I'm nothing at the same time. And the moment that you get clear about that, then you can begin to walk into your purpose. How many people in here would say that you found your purpose? Just keep searching. And by searching, I mean keep developing yourself. Keep reading. Keep taking the classes. Keep having the conversations. Keep listening. Keep doing all of the things that are going to make you a better person. Because then what happens is that all of a sudden now it becomes clear to you. Here's the other part, though, and Andre can attest to this, is that the only reason why I'm here is because I've made a conscious decision in my life that I'm going to be a servant to other people. I spent most of my life taking. I've spent most of my life burning bridges. I spent most of my life hurting people. I spent most of my life being selfish and never, ever considering the drama or the pain that I've caused other people. And so it wasn't until that I stopped putting myself first and started putting other people first that, dang, all of a sudden now my life changed. And we're all called to do something great. That's the thing. A mentor told me this a long time ago, and it didn't really click until recently. He said, never underestimate the power of your story. Now, again, I only have an 8th grade education. I'm not college educated. I don't come from good family or good stock, right? I'm only able to sit here and to speak to you guys because I believe in what I do. I believe in what I say, and I believe in the people that I speak to, because we are all connected. I know what's inside of each and every one of you because I know what's inside of me, because I know who gave it to me. But the moment that you decide that I'm going to stop focusing on my problems and help other people's with theirs, all of a sudden yours will go away.
I kind of am rough on that one.
As far as?
I don't want to help nobody. I'm being selfish. I mean, don't get it wrong. Y'all see that I'm not an ugly person.
Sure.
But I've found that, that's where most of that unconscious pain, that wall he was talking about, is put in front of me. Is because I've been that person that's actually about to put food in my mouth and said, here. And when I realized that my kids didn't have that joy because I went and took their food out of their mouth and nobody fed me, I put that whole wall, that whole structure where I'm going to study, I'm going to see what it is. Yeah. maybe you might be in there. And that's where I've been going the hardest on myself is, I've been, instead of helping now, I found out that now that I don't help, I'm finding me in there.
And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, they say that when you get on a plane and the oxygen mask comes down, you know, you don't take it and put it on other people. You put it on yourself first. Because if you die, who are you going to help? So there is a certain measure of selfishness that you have to have. But what I'll say to that is it just goes back to the seed. If your intentions are pure about the seeds that you plant, you'll never have to worry about the results that you're going to get. And so you just have to continue to invest in you in the form of mental, spiritual, and emotional development. Just keep growing. And then you'll realize that I've been in that same position where I'm a helper and I'll help and I'll give and I'll give and I'll give. And people just take advantage of me and people just treat me wrong. But the problem is that I'm looking at the results that I'm about to get. That's why. If I give you a cup of coffee and I'm sitting around waiting to see your reaction or your response to it, of course I'm going to be disappointed. But if I sit the cup of coffee there and I turn around and I walk away and I don't care what you do with that cup of coffee, then there's nothing that you can do that can adversely affect the positive deed I try to enforce. So a lot of this, it just stems from personal development, and we just have to continue to grow. That's all it is. A guy told me something. He says, we all have 3 responsibilities in our life. The first responsibility that we have is I have a responsibility for the things that I do. Right? That's easy. But what's not so easy is the second thing, which is I have a responsibility for the things that I don't do. So if I want to be healthy, but I eat at McDonald's every day, I never go to the doctor, I don't work out, I don't sleep well, I can't get mad if I get high diabetes, high blood pressure. I can't get mad at the ill effects that are the results of my negativity or my neglecting the things that I should do. I know that I should work out. I know that I should eat better. I should eat 1 less cheeseburger a week and I'll be fine. I should eat 5 less ounces of steak. If they got an 8 ounce and they got a 12 ounce, why do I got to get the 12 ounce every time? Or be like, I ain't got a 16 ounce back there? So you're responsible for the things that you don't do. But just as important is you are responsible for how you respond or react to the things that people do to you. Because that's a choice. You help somebody and they, for lack of a better term, they shit on you. You're responsible for how you react or respond to that. That's your responsibility. It's nobody else's. Because the thing is that it's only you that determines how you receive that. And if someone does something to me and I react negatively, I got to go back later and I got to play the tape and I got to say, why did I react that way? Because 100 people in that same situation will all react differently. So there's not only one way to skin a cat, or there's not only one way to be in a situation. So if my behavior is not in alignment with what I think it should be, I can't blame the other person for how they reacted or what they did. I can only blame myself because I can't control you. I can't control anybody else, only me. So again, if I respond a certain way or I react a certain way, I just got to come back and look at myself and say, man, you just got more growing to do. How you think, your self-worth. The last thing is work. That's the last thing. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to be able to control your thoughts, it's going to take work. Because it's easy to just let your thoughts control you. It's easy to just let your thoughts run rampant. It's easy to just go on autopilot. And I could just sit and scroll Instagram videos all day and YouTube videos all day. And I can watch all the soap operas and all the stories. And I can just let my mind control me. So if you don't work, nothing's going to work. That's the cool part about y'all being here, is that I already know that you guys are workers. Here's the thing, though, is that you must work harder on yourself than you do on your job. That's the key. See, here's the thing. Can I write on one of these boards real quick, Dre? Is anybody here good at math? Bet. All right, I got something for you. I got a problem for you. See if you can figure this one out.
Okay. Pressure. 1 minus 2 minus 1.
Okay. That's the answer, -1? Okay. So what if I just flip these two numbers, and what if I go, what's the answer?
One, positive one, if we
Right.
want to go with that.
So I'm gonna just put the positive just for effect, right? We're only talking about two numbers here. Very simple numbers. The next is after zero, the next two numbers, right? 1 and 2. So how is it that you can have the same two numbers but end up with different results?
The order.
Put them in the wrong place. If you put these numbers in the wrong place, you will get the wrong results. And it's very simple. We're talking about 1s and 2s. How easy is it to actually accidentally invert two numbers? Because this is the part about math that's confusing to me, is if you write it like this, or you write it like this, now it's like, damn, wait, hold on a second. Now I'm confused. I'm like, well, which one is which? It's very easy to get the equation wrong in life. See, the thing is, I've learned there are things that I used to say yes to that now I have to say no to. And there are things that I say no to now that I used to have to say yes to. I just left the parole office, and I did an orientation there. And there's a guy, his name is John Trail. I don't know if you ever met John Trail. John Trail is amazing. This dude is a real road warrior. He'll go the distance to help anybody, do anything that you need. He'll get you in his car, and he will take you there. Excuse me. But the thing is that years ago, I was the kind of guy that somebody like John Trail, I'd have said no to. He's like, hey, man, I'm going to take you to the doctor. I'm going to even schedule the appointment. I'm going to help you get access. I'm going to go take you to get your ID. And when it's all said and done, I'm going to give you a $25 gift card. And I'll be the guy that'll say, nah, I'm cool. I ain't got no money in the bank. I ain't been to the doctor in like 15 years. I don't got an ID. But I'm going to say no to that. But I'll leave the parole office and my homie will be like, hey, man, I got a line on a couple jugs, man. You in? Hell yeah. Let's go. Yes and no. That's yes and no, which is very simple. A 2-letter word, a 3-letter word. If you use it in the wrong instance, you'll end up in the negative. And so that's where the work comes in. You have to intentionally put in the work to be diligent about being better people. It's great that you guys graduated this program or are about to graduate this program. And it's great that you guys are actively taking an intentional role in your life to do something better for yourself, to set yourself up for success. But this is just the beginning, because there's a lot of other people that are also about to graduate from similar programs that are going to look to apply at similar jobs. So if you got you and somebody else applying for the same job, what's the biggest determining factor in who gets the job? Now, the thing is, before you answer, in a different time in my life, I'd have been like the white guy. But now I understand that it's just the person who's got more skin in the game. The person that's more invested. Because as a business owner, I don't care what color you are. I don't care what gender you are. What work ethic do you bring to the table? How intelligent are you? That's the most important thing to me. And so I work in an industry, fire protection, where there's probably maybe, and this is a rough number, maybe 2,500 sales reps in America for fire protection. There's only 2 black guys. I'm one of them.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
I'm the number one sales rep in the Southwest and in the West region.
Oh, wow.
Congratulations.
I'm the only black guy. So I can't use race as the catalyst. I can't use background because I'm the only ex-con. You know what I'm saying? I'm the only dude that just got out of the penitentiary with all these janky ass tattoos. I can't use none of that as an excuse. The only thing that they care about is how hard do you work. But what makes the biggest difference is not that you go on your job and you're going to bust your ass and you're going to show up early and you're going to stay late and you're going to do more than you get paid to do, because that should be the number one rule of employment, is you always do more than you get paid to do. But if you work hard on yourself, that'll make you a fortune. Working hard on your job will make you a living. And making a living is okay. If all you want to do is make a living and you never want to do anything great with your life, that's admirable. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to be great, if you want, see, the thing is he don't know, but people talk about him every day. People pray for him every day because of what he does for other people. If you want to do something great, then you have to be invested in your personal development. He come in here and he work hard, but then he goes home and he invests more time and energy and effort into himself. Spiritually, mentally, emotionally. I don't spend a lot of time with him, but I already know. I've seen the work that this guy put in before. I already know what time it is. And you can see the results. If you judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. Hey, man, he doing all right. Let me hold something. Let me hold something, man. Let me hold something. That's what we talking about. Let me hold something.
Top salesman. Let us all hold something. Hey, for graduation, DeLonne coming to bring us dinner and lunch.
Bet.
Nice.
Bet. I'll do that. I'll do that. And you can hold me to it. You tell me when the graduation is, and you tell me where y'all want to go eat, and I'll put that together. But you got to graduate. You got to graduate, and that's.
With your mom.
Huh?
I said I would love to eat with your mom.
Bet, I'll bring her. That's my word. Hey, that's my word. Is that if you guys graduate, we will leave here and we'll go eat wherever you guys want to go eat, and it'll be on me.
She's still like, what is it, naive about who she had in front of her, and he was so like that experience.
Yeah, no, it was cool. I'm grateful for it, but I'm grateful for the growth that God has done in my life, and that I believe in the promise that if you do the work, that's it. If you do the work, you put one foot in front of the other and do what you're supposed to do, everything is going to work out the way that it's supposed to. But it all starts with work. You got to be the hardest working person around you. Start here and then out, from the inside out. That's how this thing goes.
Because you can't sleep and live a dream, can you?
No.
I have a question. So, like, at what age would you say that you kind of like realized, okay, there's a pattern, I'm kind of, this is what I've been doing, is the results I've been getting. At what age would you say like you fully matured and started like, instead of focusing on like the bad things? Because I've always wondered, so I think it's different for men and women.
Sure.
Like, at what age does a man really actually become a man and like really,
Sure.
You
No,
see
absolutely.
what I mean? Like,
The thing is that I don't think there's an age, right? Science will tell you that there's an age at which we mature physically, but you can't quantify that mentally because it just depends on your life experiences. For me, I would be honest, it's probably 40. And I just turned 40. It'll be a month ago in 2 days. It's just starting to kind of click for me. But the thing is that it's been a journey of intentionally putting in the work. Here's the thing is that I can guarantee this. I can't guarantee that you'll be successful. I can't guarantee that you'll be great. I can't guarantee that you guys will make millions of dollars, or I can't even guarantee that tomorrow is something that's going to come to you. But I can promise you that when you walk out of here, it's going to be challenging. It's going to be difficult. And you're going to fail. I've known since I was like 16, 17, when I first got into spiritual and personal development. One of the first books that I read that changed my life was called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. And when I read that book, it was really short, it was like 17 pages. But it was profound and just basic, simple concept of as you think, so shall you become. Whatever you put into your mind, like the seed that plants, right? So I've known since then. The problem is that I didn't fully put in all the work. I did a little bit of the work. And so I only got a little bit of the results. And then I did a little bit more of the work. And then I got a little bit more of the results. And then I did a little bit more of the work. And I got a little bit more of the results. The thing is that if you just start doing the work and stay consistent, good things happen to you, you just work harder. Bad things happen to you, you just work harder. Nothing happens, you just work harder. If you stay consistent and just continue to work on self, then you'll be okay. You'll shorten the maturation process. But my problem is that I'm what you call ambitiously lazy. Right? I grind. I'm a grinder. I can work hard. And I can outwork most people. But like this long. And then it's like, I work for 3-6 months and then I need like 8-9 months off. That's been my track record. You know what I mean? Because what it is that I do this. They have a saying for it. You rest in your laurels. Right? I'll grind for 6 months and I'll be like, damn, look at what I did. I did in 6 months what it probably would have took somebody 2 years to do. And then I'll take my foot off of the gas, and then I'll celebrate, and I'll be like, yeah, I did it, look at me, da, 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 da. And I make it about self. Self, 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 self. See, that's having the equation wrong. You can't put the smallest denominator first. That's why it's the denominator, the one that's down. You got to put the greater one first. That's God. You put the greater one first, and then everything else kind of falls into place. It don't really matter what you put underneath it. If the greatest denominator, if the greatest numerator is first, it doesn't matter what you put underneath it. The math is always going to be in surplus. It's always going to work out the way that it's supposed
It
to.
could be 64, 132. It still has to go in by 4 if the denominator is 4.
You know what I mean? But the greater number is always going to be on top. And as long as you have the equation in the right place, everything is going to work out just fine. So that's it. That's all I really got for you guys. I appreciate you guys. I really do. Because the thing is that you don't have to do this. Getting up and making a conscious decision to be intentional about doing something great for your life is hard. That's why most of the world lives in mediocrity. Because they get up and they realize, man, it's hard. I got one more story. You might have heard this one. I got one more story, then I'm gonna leave. So this guy, he leaves. I'm full of stories, man. And I know you guys got to go. So this guy, he grew up in a small town, and in this small town, he just couldn't wait to leave. So when he graduated high school, he bounced. And so he'd been gone 10 years, so he finally comes back, and he's reminiscing, and he's walking down the dirt road, and he's like, man, this town ain't changed much. So after he's been walking a few minutes, he hears this weird howling sound. He's like, oh, what's this sound? I don't know where it's coming from. So he keeps walking, sees a house down the road, and he keeps walking up to the house, and the closer he gets to the house, the louder the sound gets. And he realizes that it's the sound of a dog that's howling, right? You heard the story before. I hope I tell it right. So the guy gets up to this house, and he sees this old man on the porch, and on the porch is a dog next to him, right? And he's like, how's it going? He's like, hey, what's wrong with your dog, man? Why is he howling like that? He says, well, the thing is, a few days ago, he sat down in this very same spot, and he landed on a nail on his genitalia. And every time he moves a little bit, it hurts. And so he howls. Poor baby, right? But the kid, he's thinking to himself, he's like, well, why doesn't the dog just get up? And he says that the pain of change is worse than the pain of staying the same. But that's how we live our lives. Is the fear of the unknown is worse than the fear of the known. I know how bad this is. I know how bad this life can get. But the fear of the unknown keeps me complacent. Don't be that way. Don't be afraid to go be great. And here's the thing, is I just told a group of people this, that there's 7 billion people in the world. You know there's only 10 million people that are locked up? Which means that you got to work really hard to go to jail. You got to work hard to go to prison. That is not easy. It's not easy. There's 300 million people in America, plus 330-some million people in America, but only 2.2 million people are locked up. You got to work hard to go to jail. So why not then take the same risk on yourself and work just as hard on yourself and take a risk and bet on yourself? Because what if you do something great? There's a reason why the saying, they say you go out on a limb. There's a reason why all of the fruit is on the limb of a tree. You got to go out on the limb to get it. If you can get the one that falls in the ground, it's all beat up and bruised. It don't taste the same. If you want that good one, you're going to have to climb up in that tree. You're going to have to go get it. You're going to have to take a risk. And there's nothing wrong with taking a risk. Because in the event that it doesn't go the way that you thought it would, guess what? It's the person that you become along the journey that's more valuable than anything that you'll get at the end of the destination. My mentor told me this a long time ago. He said, set a goal to make $1 million. And then if you achieve it and you make $1 million, you can give it away. And I was like, you had me in the beginning with make $1 million, but you lost me when you said give it away. Why would I give it away? He's like, because the thing is that it's not the $1 million, it's the prize. You became the kind of person that could make $1 million. So you could make it and give it away and go make it again. The $1 million didn't make you. You made the $1 million. So that's what you guys have to understand, is that if you just go out here and become the person you were designed to be, anything is possible.
I have a question. scientifically, like, so
That's a good
I
question.
think it's important, no matter how much you believe in yourself, I think that having connections is essential to becoming whatever you want to become. Because
Yeah.
sometimes you could have all the other, parts of the equation,
Mm-hmm.
but not really the connections or the
Yeah.
network that you need in order to get to where you need to,
Yeah.
So what's your advice in terms of, like, how could we do that?
I'll give you some real good advice, but first I'm gonna touch on the mentor part. 95% of the people that I say are my mentor, I never met. I don't know these people. I read their books, I listened to their audios, their programs, things like that. So they became a mentor to me in that fashion, in that capacity. So that's how I answered that question. Now, to the real life mentors, it's nothing more than you got to put yourself out there. And you have to get into those situations or those places where the people are that are in the field that you're trying to get into. So I don't just one day start having lunch and dinner with millionaires and billionaires. I have to get into these situations, right? I want to be around these people. I have to join trade organizations. I have to go to these conventions. I have to go to these seminars. And I have to not be afraid to go and sit down at a table and introduce myself. There's a thing called Meetup. And it's an app where they have these different groups and clubs that you can join. And they're just groups of people you can join. You can type in real estate, or you can type in chefs, or you can type in forklift drivers. You can type in, whatever. And they'll tell you a list of all these different groups of people that come together and they meet that are involved in this industry or this field that you're looking at. So the reality is that you just have to put yourself out there. And here's an even better piece of advice. Is you just have to become that person that you're looking to be mentored by. And then the universe will bring them to you. You will attract that what you are. It ain't gonna happen right away. But eventually, if you stay diligent, that's what I'm telling you guys. Like, it doesn't happen day 1 or day 2. It doesn't happen in week 1 or month 1. But if you stay diligent, eventually the universe, God will say, oh, this is what you really want. There's this thing called the reticular activating system, right? It's a scientific thing where it's when you make an intention known to the mind, then all of a sudden, it will reveal other things like that to you. To give you an example, if you say, you know what, man, I was just thinking about buying a new Toyota Corolla, and all of a sudden, everywhere I look, I see Toyota Corollas. Has that ever happened to you? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because you put that intention into your mind. You said, this is what I want. And then mind says, oh, okay, this is important. So I need to make visual to you everything that is similar to that. So you just have to become the person that you want to be mentored by. And then eventually, you won't be that person, but as you become them, God will say, okay, here you go.
Just to add to that, so something that I have kind of had to learn the hard way is, like, going back to what you said, it's very important to listen to your like, passions, like something that you're really passionate about. All my life, personally, I've always tried to meet my family's expectation or what they wanted me to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's all fine and it's cool and it all went well. But at the same time, though, I was neglecting like my own
Yourself.
the things that I wanted to do. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if I had believed in myself and that it was possible for me to pursue that, I think that it would have been better.
Absolutely.
But it's okay. It's never too late. As long as
Sure.
you're alive, you can always pursue it.
It's part of the journey. And you just have to, I'll close with this. Embrace every part of the journey. As far back as you can remember to now, you have to embrace every part of the journey because that's what makes you unique. And if you learn from it, then it's not a failure. It's not a waste of time. I spent over 15 years of my life in prison. And I can't look at any of it as a waste of time because each time I went, I learned something different. I became something different. I grew more. And it's all a culmination of coming together that has allowed me to be in this place that I'm in now. So you just have to embrace that as part of the journey.
So here's the thing, man. I know you probably understand this a little bit. So, like, the last place, like, as far as when you wake from your sleep and you live life and you realize that you're alive, you're living life, the last place, the last thing you would ever do yourself in a situation where you'd have to go to prison. Look at all the luxuries life has to offer, all the cars, all the clothes, the shoes, anything you want, right? All the happy, fun stuff, right? And you telling me that within 2 seconds, you can go to prison for the rest of your life by killing somebody, right? Or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm just a little confused here. So, and that's a promise. You know that.
Yeah.
That's a promise. And that's the only thing they answer to. They don't know anything else. If you ask about how to help you be a millionaire, how to help you get a car, or how to help you, you know what I'm saying, be the best you can be, right? They don't know nothing, right? All of a sudden the cops don't know nothing.
Yeah.
But one thing that they do promise, if you break their rules,
They're gonna come for you.
they'll send you to prison.
Yeah.
I just think that's really interesting because again, when you live life, when you wake up from your seat, that's the last thing you ever want to do is, for one, go ask the cops about anything.
Yeah.
Well, how the hell, if I'm living good and I'm happy, I don't want to bother you. I'll watch you on TV. I don't give a damn. What the hell do I don't care a fuck about you. I don't want to. I'm saying like bother you in no type of way or want no type of business because anybody that has business with you is clearly getting locked up in handcuffs and in prison.
Yeah.
So that's not really something I want to be doing.
Yeah.
Right. And that's this weird irony of the situation. It's like they put you in these situations where when you're 13, 12 years old, they manipulate you as a little kid, influence you with drugs and stuff like that, or you know what I'm saying, with all type of stuff. You know what I mean? And then when you get in trouble, or you know what I'm saying, do bad things or go against their rules, you know what I'm saying, they just watch you. You know what I'm saying, all along the way, just to fall into their trap.
But that's why now it's like now we have to be in a place to where I understand that I am the architect of my own future going forward. And I just have to be more diligent and I have to be more intentional about who I'm becoming and not allowing the sins of my past or somebody else's past to dictate my present or my future. I appreciate you guys. And I'm serious about that. When you graduate, brother, let me know. Lunch on me, man.
Don't forget y'all.
Lunch on me. Here we go. Listen. I don't know how many more I got, but I usually pass out cards when I speak to most of the groups. So I got a few of them here if you guys want. If you need a conversation, you need some advice,
Go ahead.
whatever it is. I would love to make myself available to you guys because we are a community of people. And at the end of the day, this man sees enough in you. I already know that if you showed up today, you're trying to do something better for yourself. So however I can support you guys in that endeavor, please let me know.
So give me a minute before you got a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I had a couple questions. One, what is the nonprofit you're trying to start up?
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's that's a good question. It's gonna definitely be centered in prison reform. What we're talking about trying to do is something that is leaning towards home ownership, but it's a work in progress. Right now, I'm just trying to do work. That's it. I just want to be of service to my community in any way that I can. And
Anybody who doesn't have it, I'll copy it. Y'all will be good. I got y'all. Go ahead, DeLonne.
Well, that's awesome.
I'll copy it.
That's the crazy thing, right? It's like, for your example, it's like, okay, so check this out. You're a little baby, right? You're a little baby, you know what I mean? You don't even know how it's possible. And it's you telling me that you purposely came to life and have everything you could possibly be, everything you want in life. The only thing you did was go to prison?
nah, definitely not.
No, I'm saying that's the only thing you did.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, for example, say you're a baby.
Yeah.
The only thing you did was go to prison. That's so you tell me that's what it is. That's why I'm like, I'm trying to think about the situation. I'm like, okay, like for me personally, I'm a baby, you know what I'm saying? You telling me I purposely came to this world. I purposely put myself in this position only to go to prison.
Yeah.
I didn't want a Lamborghini. I didn't want to be happy. I didn't want to have fun.
Right.
I didn't want to go to the movies every weekend if I wanted to. I didn't want to go to all the famous restaurants. I didn't want to live in a high class neighborhood.
Nah,
right?
it's just people not seeing your self-worth.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're telling me I lived life. I purposely gave myself life just to wake up every single day, only to go to prison. Everything it had to offer.
Nah.
I didn't care about none of it. I only went to prison.
Definitely not.
So you telling me that's all it is?
Nah, definitely. It's just remember, you have to be around people that see your self-worth. It don't work until people believe in you. And if you're around people that don't believe in you, you have to take yourself out of that situation.
That's how you know something's not right.
You know what I mean?
Again, brother, thank you so much. So real quick, I need y'all to hear me out on this. I got like one announcement.